Pressure from Washington to turn over records, even taking them to court over the issue. So how can you just group Google with all of those other companies?
I'm afraid this is eyewash. This is essentially an attempt to create a cover story. It's true that Google claims that they did not cooperate with the terrorist surveillance project back in 2007, 2008. But let's just look at two important things. Who founded Google? How did Google get this tremendous supremacy starting in the late 90s? Well, it turns out that there's a CIA proprietary nonprofit company called In-Q-Tel. And In-Q-Tel, created back in 1999 or so under Norman Augustine, he's a famous industrial military complex entrepreneur. Their goal was to invest in the most advanced IT and cyber companies so that the U.S. intelligence community would always be at the forefront. Did they invest in Google? We know they did, at least at one point. CIA created Project Keyhole, the satellite imaging of the surface of the Earth. Project Keyhole was sold to Google, and it became Google Earth. And that's what you can see online. And this was a couple of $1 million of startup capital from In-Q-Tel.
Post saying the Pentagon is taking the internet over. So they're telling the public it's to stop Chinese and Russian cyber attacks that are basically non-existent. That's just the cover. It's a false flag. The real architecture of this is the NSA and the Air Force are building more than a dozen centers around the country, one just a few miles from me here in Austin and San Antonio, that are spying on the American people with Google, that are tracking everything we're doing. The United Nations, that's controlled by the big central banks that run our nation, have called for a net ID or internet ID more draconian than Chinese net censorship. Australia, Italy have passed draconian internet laws that are more oppressive than even China. So what's happening is, and Cass Sunstein, the White House regulations czar, has written 2 white papers saying this, the system is discredited. The mainstream TV in our country, the mainstream newspapers are literally going bankrupt because no one believes them anymore about greenhouse gas, ClimateGate hoaxes, swine flu hoaxes, banker bailout hoaxes, the government health care hoaxes. The people are awake, and so Northcom and Homeland Security are mirroring what's happening in England, Australia, and Italy, and coming in with net surveillance and an attempt to set up Internet 2 to restrict free speech. Time Magazine is calling for restricting free speech right now. So the unthinkable is happening. The so-called Western democracies are falling into Hitlerian or almost Leninist censorship and tyranny. It's really happening, but the genie is out of the bottle. The train has already left the station. The people are aware of the New World Order's criminal activities, their hoaxes, and it's not going to work. So cybersecurity, according to the former head of it, who valiantly resigned, is a Orwellian police state takeover of the internet, because the people are communicating with each other and exposing the corruption and saying no to the fraud. Our corrupt government is illegitimate and is aware that a peaceful renaissance, a revolution of awakening and understanding